Rise, rise, rise. Still I rise. High above the storms. Rise.
Welcome to the Lit and Legit podcast series with the Survival Council. To the left of me, I have Tashara.
Hi.
Shannon.
Hello.
And Estefani.
Hey.
We are going to be coming to you today from the Gateway. The Gateway is a nonprofit that does direct service, training, and empowerment for survivors. And we also do digital harm, online safety. We create curriculum for the youth. You can go on our website and you can get resources. And we also investigate apps. So if there's some apps that you want us to investigate, you can go on the speak pipe and you can let us know about them, and we'll investigate them and give you our insight on how they work. I'm not going to take up all the time because I'm not the host today. We have Shannon. Councilwoman Shannon will be hosting with that big sis energy.
Okay. So yes, my name is Shannon. I'm one of the newest members of the Survivors Council, and I'm going to be hosting today's podcast. So our topic today is digital defenders, protecting families from online exploitation. Now, thank you, Alice. I appreciate this opportunity to host today. The topics that we're going to be covering are general awareness and online safety, sexual exploitation and sex trafficking, protecting families and children, which I think we may have talked about that on our first podcast. And then we've got some bonus things that we're going to discuss. So
You ain't know?
I'm going to have everyone go around, introduce themselves, and just give us a little bit about you. Estefani?
Hi, I'm Estefani. I'm also the second newest council member, and I'm excited to be here so I can share with you some of my experiences and stories, and I'm happy and blessed to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. All right, Tish.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Give us what you got, girl.
Okay. I'm Tish. I'm an OG council member, councilwoman. I'm excited for today's episode. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty.
Yes.
This means war,
We mean
Absolutely.
business.
and we mean business. So I'm excited about this episode. Who are you?
I'm just Alice.
Alice.
Just Alice.
Right. Alice is our executive director of the Open Gateway. So she is the big sis.
Big dog.
Yes, a big sis.
I am just happy to be a part of this, and I'm happy that you guys are here with me, and I am so excited to empower, educate, and prevent trafficking. We want to eradicate trafficking, and I think the best way to do that is to make survivor leaders and people who advocate for the youth make this our business of being about the business of letting our youth know what is out there and
Right.
how to protect themselves, and letting the community know that there are ways and means that they can protect themselves and our youth.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Alice. So let's get into our general awareness and just talk about online safety for a bit. What are some of the most common online scams targeting women and children today? Anybody?
So, I'll go. I have a member of my family who's actually on a chat, in a chat room that a lot of the junior high schoolers use. And I guess it's just like a chat room where friends from school can meet. She hasn't given me the exact name, but there's several of them. And there are predators that are going on there that are posing as other children from different schools. They have, pictures of young kids as themselves, but they're grown men or, just predators looking to take advantage of the youth. So that's one way.
Another way is they create these fake modeling and casting calls for children, specifically targeting young children, and not just women and girls, but boys too, to start grooming them. Another way is creating these personal relationships online, getting them comfortable and acquainted with them, creating fake profiles, and sometimes girls and women will even say, "Hey, this is my boyfriend," and they think that this is their boyfriend. They'll get close, and the grooming starts, and that's how it jumps off.
Right, and it gets really deep because they can create a site, go on their site, find your friends, take pictures of your
Yes.
friends, and communicate with you as somebody else on several different levels. So they could be 6 different people contacting you, like, oh, this is my friend, and oh yeah, I know them. They're and related or whatever. And I had an experience with Roblox, right?
Yeah.
So somebody had befriended my daughter on Roblox, and over a period of time, they were like, "Oh, well, give me your Instagram." See, because they can't communicate on Roblox with pictures and things or direct contact. But if you give them the direct contact,
Right.
now they have access to you.
Yes.
And so this person started trying to get her to do things that were inappropriate. So she shut him down, but he started contacting her from different phone numbers because now they have access. And so it can get really, really deep. And it got to the point where she just was like, "Mom, I need you to take care of this," right? Because the person was started sending videos of himself, and this was not a teenager. This was an adult. And so just knowing that it is very transparent and that, in today's society, there are so many ways, and let's not even get started with the, what they call it, the fan pages and the ways you can put yourself online, and you don't have to show you can be any age in doing this. There's no age requirement, and there is, but technically there ain't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's the invisible line that's not even there.
Right.
Like invisible protection.
Right.
There are no protections.
No.
And the most strongest protection is the voice of someone who knows better.
Right. And
Absolutely.
predators also, they watch whom they're trying to lure in.
Absolutely.
They watch their victims, what they post. If you're posting something so simple as "today is not a good day."
Right.
You
Absolutely.
know, if you post, well, I'm thinking about running away. Things like that, they target vulnerable children, vulnerable women, vulnerable young men. If you're posting your emotions, they're going to use that to prey upon you. So we have to be very careful about what we're posting.
Right. Keep it positive.
Absolutely.
Yes, and not to say that you should stuff your feelings, but you should find a more intimate outlet, someone you can trust. And once you put on the internet, it's forever. So you may not be stuck in that bad mood forever. So maybe you should just find something a little bit more intimate. And also, I want to touch on what you said, Tish, about it's not just women and children or women and our daughters. So sometimes men
Absolutely.
can be scammed or catfished, and it can be sexual or for financial gain. So it's not just women that are these targets. Anyone could be a victim.
Absolutely.
Right. There was last year the young man unfortunately took his life because
just gonna say
somebody was they were doing sextortion, and
Yes,
they
I was
were
just gonna bring that up.
trying to get him to give them money, and he
Yes.
was stealing from his family and those sort of things. And so it's not a respecter of person. It's not a
Absolutely.
respecter of color. It's not a respecter of class.
Absolutely.
You have people who do this like a job.
Right.
Like they get up in the morning, that's all they do.
Yes.
And so because of that, we need to get up in the morning and make it our business to do this.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am. Yes.
Absolutely.
Stefani, did you want to add something?
No.
Okay, okay. Well, I know that you mentioned the gaming and the fake profiles. They have something like Our Life Together, where you could
Yes.
create an adult. Even I have a Roblox account so that I can play with my son. But you can create an adult. You can be a child. You get to choose. Make your own character. You can be whoever you want on there, and the kids are not suspecting
No.
the danger.
Right.
So it's important for us to be aware that this is going on and kind of talk to the
Yes.
children, because they're not paying for the internet themselves, or they're not buying these electronic devices for themselves. So someone has to be aware and be able to outline some of this. So I was able to tell my son, you can't tell them where you are.
No.
Right.
Or if they're asking what school you go to, because then they know what time dismissal is.
Absolutely.
And then they can see who you're talking to out front. So, we just have to talk to
Yes.
our youth, boys and girls.
Absolutely.
All right, now that brings us into, how do traffickers lure their victims?
So I'll touch on that. I think that, like we touched on the last question, these predators are, this is their job. They're on their job. So they're looking at posts where people are talking about their feelings. They're looking for youth that are vulnerable. Doesn't even have to be youth. It could be, women, like you said, women and men that are just posting their feelings, and they attack that. So, for instance, let's just say something as simple as being on Snapchat and saying, I want these shoes. This person can, really play on that. Like, oh, I have, there's something I have for you where you can win these shoes.
Right.
You can model, for, like you were saying, model on Instagram and get free merch. And something so simple that, kids don't know that's, a way to get lured. And especially now on social media where you have all these, influencers that are talking about, getting all these products for free, the kids are willing to do that. And unfortunately, that's what's happening.
Right. Incentives. Predators are using incentives, shoes, money, and this is a $1 billion industry.
Absolutely.
Trafficking is.
Yes.
So, the predators that are making this their day job, they don't have anything to lose, and we have everything to lose. Yeah. So I feel like we need to be having these conversations about what it looks like, what's an appropriate post, because they create these relationships. And as a vulnerable child, as someone that's going through puberty, and you're excited about getting into dating, 17 years old. When you're a teenager, you're interested in boys and girls and having new friends, and so they make it easy to be a target, and we just have to be vigilant. It's scary.
And it's important for us to have a relationship with our children where we can have that kind of wordplay where we let them know that it's okay to come to us and say, well, let's do a scenario where I ask you a question like this, and we you role play back and forth. Well, what if this happens and you're on the internet, so that
Right.
they
Role play,
know,
that's good.
yeah, so they know what they can say, or they wouldn't be embarrassed to come home and say, Mom, that happened, or Dad, that happened.
Absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to add to also how traffickers lure their victims is their surroundings. It could be so simple as being in traffic and they watch you and see you. They know your every move. When you're walking down the street, and I mentioned this previously in our previous podcast about when you have your phone, are you just looking at your phone? Are you paying attention to your
Right.
surroundings? Do you know what's going on around you? I tell my daughter, keep your head on a swivel. Because you need to know what's going on around you so you can be prepared. This doesn't look right. I feel uncomfortable. Are you crossing the street? If you see somebody speeding up behind you, do you even know that someone is walking behind you? So being aware of your surroundings, very important.
Especially the kids that take the bus and walk.
Absolutely. Sharing your location, not just with your parents, but someone else that you trust. hey, this is where I am, this is where I'm going. Being honest about that,
Yes.
because you never know what could happen. It's happening in the blink of an eye.
Right. You know, a scam is a scam, and it happens to the adults too. You know, there are a lot of
Oh, yeah.
predators online. Like 1 in 5 people are a predator online. You have millions of people online. So then there's millions of predators. Not that everybody is one. Not that everything is a scam, but to be aware and to acknowledge when you're in one. Some of those, they have these, what do you call it? It's like a storyline where you go in and you talk about the different stories, and people also create accounts on those, where they befriend people and they get to know you and you get to know the characters, and you feel like you're actually like, this is my dude, like
Right.
this is my friend.
Right,
And so I
right.
really want to give them this information, but just knowing that, and it's not always the vulnerable. You know, someone who is trying to get you to step out of your norm.
Right.
Comfort
So
zone.
someone is trying to get you to go against your values, against your morals of what you've been taught, what is right and what is wrong. And you have to be careful about, being too exposed, because sometimes when you get too exposed, people can use that information to try to target you. And being exposed is letting people know that I'm coming from a rough background or a rough family, or I'm having a rough time, or I need help with such and such, right?
Right.
So now I'm making myself vulnerable.
Yes.
Even if I'm not a vulnerable person, now I have put that out into the atmosphere, and there's somebody who's going to try to take that and run with it. And all I got to do is be able to recognize it. See, because the empowerment comes from me being able to recognize it. Oh,
Absolutely.
that's what they was talking about on Lit and Legit.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I see you. No, you ain't got you a hot one. No, sir.
Right, that
Yeah.
part.
Move right along,
I was going to say there's ways that you can use the internet for positive ways. Like I know today's age, everybody is on social media expressing themselves. They may not have that outlet, so they use Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat to talk about how they're feeling. But there are other safe ways, like a podcast like this, where you're able to go to someone's website and see their credentials, and it's different. It's you can use it for a positive, safe way.
Yeah,
instead of
especially
making yourself
those who are
vulnerable.
advertising work or advertising opportunities or
Yes.
advertising like how you can win something.
Right.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You can research that, and you can
Absolutely.
look at the reviews and see what people are saying. I love reviews.
Yeah, reviews are
There
great.
is a lot in the internet, that
Absolutely,
can help empower yourself. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, those are all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you do find something like that, like you said, you can just Google it. Is this a real website? Is this a real, and usually you'll find a whole bunch of stuff on there with other people having the same kind of story where this was a scam, or, reviews are great.
Yes, and those extra couple seconds to check out the reviews.
Yes.
And checking out whether or not it's legit, it's worth it, because it's something so simple as, someone liking your picture or your post a number of times and you have no idea who this person is. But I think we tend to forget that the internet, we have social media, of course, but the internet is a tool. And there is a proper way to use a tool, and there's an improper way to use a tool.
Absolutely.
So,
Okay, wow. I have been targeted. Sometimes you get those foreign emails.
Yes.
But, I was putting out so many applications and resumes in search for a job, and I started getting this feedback from companies unknown, unheard of. So I know that out of desperation, or some of those, people who want to be influencers online are so eager to get a quick come up, those people can fall victim to it.
yeah.
But what are some red flags that parents and children can watch for in these online interactions? So I know you mentioned they can use your friends' photos and have information about your whereabouts. But what are some other red flags that may not be as obvious?
I have one. So, for example, on Facebook, if you notice that you're getting a friend a friend request from someone that you're already friends with,
Absolutely.
and this same person is requesting to be your friend, nine times out of 10, this is not that person. And a lot of times, lately, we've been really vigilant about saying, hey, that's not me. That's not me. We're going to report this, and Facebook tends to take it down. So Facebook has been doing a really good job in that way, in that manner. Also, I don't typically accept friend requests from people I don't know. Like if I've never seen you before, and then I check out, because we have to network. We have to network. And I mean, it's vital, especially doing what we do. However, I check out the page. I go to the page, I do my research. Who do we have in common?
Right.
Who do we have in common? What kind of content are you posting? First of all, if I don't agree with the content that you're posting, there's no way we're going to be friends on Facebook. So those are 2 red flags that I pay attention to. And then also, my daughter's phone, there are privacy settings. Oh yeah, I see what's going on. You know, what kind of conversations are in Roblox? Like, what is her account? What does it look like? Who is she friends with? She's not on social media, but I do let her, she's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's stuff like anime and fun things. So in that sense, hey, what kind of comments are you getting? I have these conversations with her.
And that anime can get very dark.
Yes, it can.
They got some darker anime. And
Yes, it
one of the
can.
things like that can nip a lot of that in the bud is knowing, like, if somebody pretends to be a friend or a friend of a friend, I call the friend. If I'm not sure. Like, sometimes I think with me, a lot of times I can point them out and I'll be like, this is not you. And say something else so I can block you. Right? But if you don't know, give them a call.
Right.
Shoot them a text.
Right.
Hey, are you emailing me right now? And you'll know. And that's one way to nip it in the bud.
Absolutely.
Just listening to you guys, I'm thinking about I'm looking for a solution. Like, how do I do something about that? You can create code words with your friends.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can ask them about current
That's
events
good.
that they haven't had time to post.
Right.
So what did David say in the class today?
Right.
Right.
And if they have no idea, block.
Right.
Right.
You know,
That's
so
smart.
I'm
Good,
just looking for
Shannon.
solutions, and you know what, listening to you, parents have to be active. They have
Yes.
to be, and we can be so busy and caught
Yes.
up in mom business, but those kids are our priority.
Absolutely.
So we have got to be asking the right questions, and not in a, you know, always so authoritarian. You know, sometimes it has to be on a level where they can
Right.
confide in you and feel comfortable to, you know, divulge some information. So, what are you gonna share?
Yeah, I was gonna say, the few family members that I was talking about that this is happening to in my life, the parents work a lot. And I know that leaves that space for kids to become very vulnerable because, you know, the dad's working overtime, the mom's working overtime. And a lot of these kids, you know, they have iPads. They have so much exposure to the internet. And that's why it's so important to get this information and be able to speak to your kids about it, let them know that they're not going to be in trouble, you know, make them feel safe to be able to talk to you. Because one of the parents in my family, you know, she just really doesn't know how to talk to her child about it. It's more like, you're in trouble. You know, and that's not going
Right.
anywhere.
And
Right.
sometimes it's about sharing, you know, your truth. Like,
Yes.
you know, it's weirdo. Somebody just emailed me. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's not, somebody tried to scam me.
Yes.
And because we do get, people do approach us.
Oh,
and we do
yeah.
get scammed just because we're older.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean
Yeah.
that we don't.
Right.
And so they need to know that too. And they need to know how we move when
Yes.
that happens. You know what I mean? And not it being like, oh, you did this and you got to stop doing
Right.
this. No, well, these things happen. This happened to me and this is what I done.
Right.
You know what I mean? And this is like something that you could do.
Yes.
And that's exactly why we need people to tune in
Yes.
and legit, because we're here to bridge that gap. I think
Absolutely.
from older generations, it was like, don't ask no questions, stay in a child's place.
Yes.
And it created that, where they want to go inward and isolate and not, tell because you
Yeah.
don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Right, and you don't have to be working all the time. With these internets, they can go in their room and be in there.
Yes.
You'll be right in the house, and
Yep.
they'll be right in that room,
Yep.
in there talking to somebody that may not be healthy for them. So we have to understand that. You know what I mean? Just keeping that conversation open, and how do we connect, and how do we let them know that we understand what's going on in the world, and we're there for them,
Right.
without it being a war.
Right.
Right.
And you mentioned bridging the gap. Yes, this is absolutely why Lit and Legit is here. We are supposed to be bridging the gap between generations, between relationships with children and parents. And I think it was more so lack of community going on right now. We have a lack of community. The saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to be a mom as well. Adults, we need that open dialogue as well. We need trusted adults as well, someone we can communicate and talk to. So I think that is, for the adults that's listening, we need people we can trust. We need villages too. You know what I'm saying? We need to be able to reach out to other moms, dads, teachers, get the teachers involved and say, hey, has such and such seemed strange today in class? Or, to be able to keep the dialogue open. We have to keep the conversation going and being able to trust one another. Like, hey, something seems kind of off. We have less community these days.
do.
And it's so sad. It's so sad, you know?
Yeah, we definitely need to bring back the days where we were, we cared about each other. We weren't so quiet. Neighbors talked to each other. It's just like, we don't do that
that's
anymore.
What I'm saying. Like, you can see your child outside and Miss Mary Mac down the street.
Well,
like, hey, don't go past that street.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? The community.
And there's good people. There's good people out. There's good people in the world. There's good people on the internet. And that's one of the things like we're trying to, put out in the
Discernment.
atmosphere.
We need some discernment.
That there are good people. There are people that care. There are people that want to see change in the community and, in schools, in churches, just continuously trying to build that gap and coming together.
We're 4 of those people.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Wow. And we're just talking about the awareness of it all. Just knowing that, there are different scams and different ways, different tools that they can target these people. We haven't even gotten to the nuts, like the
Right,
nitty
the
gritty
nitty-gritty.
of
Yeah,
what
the-
we're discussing today.
The meat and the potatoes.
So I'm gonna move on to sexual exploitation, sex trafficking. This is gonna get a little deep,
Yes.
but we really want to make our viewers aware and, create some topics that you can discuss in your own communities. So what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about sex trafficking?
I think some of the biggest ones are that it only happens to women, women in general, that it just happens to women, or of lower income, or of inner city kids, or just, vulnerable people, and it doesn't. It happens to everybody.
Okay,
Yes.
that's a good point.
Yes. I love that you said that. Based off of, what is it called?
Social,
Like that is based
social
off
economics or
of,
something.
yeah, economics.
Yeah.
The
Like
stigma.
the stigma is that it's a lower class.
Right.
Right.
And it's not. That is not the case at all. So when we went to Lansing, that was one of the things that we brought up to one of the representatives, that some of their cohorts, some of the people that they work with, have this idea in their head that, for example, Detroit, that it can only happen in Detroit and that it can't happen in Lansing. Anybody, it could happen to anybody. If you're not being vigilant, if you're not being aware of it happening, and it could be happening to you right in your neighborhood, in your backyard, then you could be subjected to this kind of thing, to sex
Yeah.
trafficking and being exploited. So I love that you mentioned that, because I wanted to remind this representative, oh, let your people know this can happen to them as well. You
Right,
know,
especially with the internet.
absolutely. So they need to know, especially when they're putting these bills out on the floor, when it comes to making these decisions on what sex trafficking is. And another misconception is that sex trafficking, quote unquote, is prostitution.
Right.
Absolutely not. So, for example, a lot of women that are getting charged with prostitution as a crime it's on their background, they were groomed
Yes.
into that. They were groomed into being, it's not just being on a street corner, but women that, some women that work in strip clubs, some women that have, these relationships that are domestic violence relationships. On the surface, it looks like domestic violence.
Right.
But in the background, this person was groomed and this is her trafficker. So you may assume that this is her boyfriend, but this is the person that trafficked her, or him, whatever the case may be. So the grooming starts with gaining a sense of rapport, trust, and having a personal relationship
Yes,
to
getting
where
them
they
comfortable.
are dependent on this person.
Okay.
Having a dependency on this person for their every need. They may promise, a lavish lifestyle, and we hold on to that promise. You just never know what type of situation someone is in. So it doesn't, it's not just a woman standing on a corner. You have no idea how she got there.
Right. Being someone's daughter, being someone's son, And the thing of it is people think like, I think one of the misconceptions is that, it's a choice of lifestyle. And maybe for some it is, because of circumstances and situations. But at the end of the day, a choice implies an option. And if there is no option for me, then there is no option for me. Just because you see an option for me doesn't mean that I see one. And until I can see it, then there is no way out. And a lot of people would
Yes.
assume that it's like a job of choice. Right? But you got sexual servitude, you got those who have no other means to survive other than to do that. You know what I mean? And so understanding that it's more about survival than it is about
Absolutely.
anything else. And then also understanding like nobody's just waking up just like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And even if they get caught up in that, because social media is pushing that, right? Social media is pushing
Sex sells.
your sex is your
Yeah.
best self,
Yes.
right? With all the BB and all the twerking and the fan pages and all of these things that musicians and actors are promoting, right, to our youth. You would assume like you think like, oh, well, that's what they wanted to do.
Right.
No, it's they got caught up in the myth of it all.
Right, the myth.
And it's a myth, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, like, to me, like, why they're there or how they got there, but how do we help them find a way out? If they choose to have a way out, is there a way out that's accessible to them? And that's one of the reasons why we do stand up for victims' rights, and we do go out, we promote advocacy.
Yes.
And thinking about this topic, when we talk about sex trafficking and the desperation one has when they are caught up in this lifestyle, in this industry, I automatically think about Maslow's pyramid, the Maslow pyramid. It talks about, first your physiological needs. Your physiological needs are your basic needs: water, shelter, food,
Yes.
things like that.
Wow.
Those are basic needs that a lot of people caught up in this industry don't have. But they're promised, they're hanging on to a promise. So, it's, oh my God, it's so deep. Like, housing, the lack of housing within a community, in the society that we live in the inner city. It's just so many different branches
Avenues and aspects.
that need to be touched on and resolved
Yeah.
in order to heal this whole stigma.
Right.
You know?
Right. And then the promotion that is going to give you longevity or give you a good life in the end. If you do this now, your life will be better. But that's never the case. The case is that you keep going darker and darker, and it gets darker and darker. Whether it's start out something innocent on fan page, oh, I'm just gonna try to make a couple extra bucks, or I'm gonna go online and do this, short thing, or if it's getting caught up in some type of Romeo relationship, because that's a huge one. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, as a society, we got to stop looking at them like they did something so horrifically wrong that they are now no longer human.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what?
Yeah, absolutely. And another misconception is that it's taken, how am I trying to say this? Like, a victim can be taken outside of their home and across country. That does happen.
Right.
That does happen, you
Right.
know. However, this could be right in your
Right under your
neighborhood.
nose.
It can be right in your house.
Yeah.
In your house, within a block radius, or just around the corner from you, and you don't even know this is happening. A lot of people hear trafficking, they automatically think long distance, taken out of the United States, somewhere in Russia, and not saying that is not happening, but it's happening
several
right
ways.
here, right in our city.
Or tied up in the basement with the big white van came
Right,
and swooped
some
them up.
18-wheeler.
Right. So, but it could happen right in your own home, right on the internet, without even having sex. I can be exploited without even having sex.
Right.
I can be exploited and exposed and humiliated and degraded online, which a lot of women are getting caught up in, and then this stays with me forever. And a lot of men too
Yeah.
are getting caught up in this, and it stays with you forever. And now you have to deal with the humility and the guilt and the shame that comes with
Exactly.
that. And it's a lot of recovery that comes with that,
Oh, yeah.
right? And it's a lot of being able to like say, you know what, I'm human. I did some things that was unbecoming, but it doesn't own me. It's not all of me. I can still be a whole
that.
person after the fact.
Say that.
And to me, the myth is that the person can't become whole again.
Oh, come on.
Okay. Okay.
Come
I
on.
like
Say
that.
that. I like that too. Say
You guys
that.
already touched on my next question was about, how do they manipulate and groom these victims? But let's move into what are some of the type of social media platforms. If you could just name the first one that comes to your mind.
I think Alice already mentioned one. Roblox,
Exactly.
Snapchat.
Snapchat,
Right. I mean, there's so many platforms.
so many.
There are so many that we don't even know of, and that our kids are on and they know about. One of the things I look for is locked apps. If I can't get in the app, it don't need to be on the phone.
It
That's
could
a
be
good
something
one.
like an email address. People can email, like, I think we touched on that, sending you fake work stuff, but, the email is, you may open it and think it's something else.
Anything with a chat where
Yeah.
they can,
All the little chat, like
Yeah.
the little story times, the anime, all of those things need to be like kind of supervised. Like I wouldn't say supervised, we got to stand over them, but just having that supervision is also a conversation.
It makes me miss the Oregon Trail.
Right.
You guys remember the Oregon Trail? When the first
do.
computer came? Okay, never mind.
But just having that conversation, that's part of supervision.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are tons of different platforms.
Absolutely.
How are they luring them from the internet to in person?
I think the biggest is befriending. Befriending
Okay.
is the biggest. Befriending, selling you a dream, an ideal. It's the same as it was when it was on the street. It's just on the internet.
Okay.
I'm selling you a dream. I'm selling you an ideal. I'm befriending you. I have a quick get rich scheme for you that.
Finding
Even if
out
it
what
takes
you
a
like.
year,
not
even if it
lit
takes a
and
year, but,
legit.
Right,
It is
right.
a downer.
Finding out what you like, what they can identify
gaining
with.
that person's trust.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how long They'll,
Right.
Oh,
this
and
is
they're
their
patient,
job,
too.
and they're on it. So if they have to wait, they'll wait.
Okay, let's move into protection.
Okay.
So we want to protect the families and the children of all genders.
You ain't know?
Of course, of course.
This means war.
So what are some effective ways parents can talk to their children about online safety?
I think I touched on that just doing the role playing. I think that's really effective because then you already the child already gets used to voicing what that sounds like, or just acting out what that could possibly look like. Being online and having somebody message you something as simple as where are you guys? Where are you and your friend hanging out this weekend? Or just role playing. So you can, and then the parent can thereafter know what, just role playing.
Okay.
Like Alice mentioned prior to, is sharing your personal experiences. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? I think children, a lot of the times, we treat them like they're not people. You know what I'm saying? We don't treat them like they're people that are going to grow up and have these lives of their own. Hey, this happened to mommy, and to prevent this from happening to you, these are some of the things that we need to look out for. These are some of the things that we have to put into place so it doesn't happen to you. This is why I tell you that you need to keep your head on a swivel, because mommy experienced this, and actually making it personable, making them
Yes.
understand that you're not exempt, honey. Because I feel like my children are a little bit more sheltered than I was. I rode the bus everywhere, growing up,
Same,
walking and
same.
stuff like that. So
We had a lot of freedom.
Right. And just letting them know this is what we have to do in order to keep you. And I put emotion into it. I'm like, listen, this is serious.
Yeah.
Show videos of it happening. And it's sad that we have those things, but that's why they are available,
Man, I be watching it. They be pulling stuff out of ears and doing all kind of weird stuff with their eyes, and the kids be watching it. They be watching them jump scares. You know what I mean? Like, they watch all of that, so we can't have a conversation about
Right.
about how to protect yourself online. But I think it does have a lot to do with being approachable about it, like, and just being your authentic self. Not that you have to go into no gory details of what happened to you, but just basically like this, this is happening.
Oh, I want to
Yeah.
scare the hell out of them.
I know you do. But, it don't always have to be like that.
Right.
Sometimes it has to be more like, approachable. It can be fun. It can be games. I love the way we did the toolkit, and we went in with the girls and we talked about these things, but we created scenarios,
Skits.
and they became the leaders in those
There you go.
scenarios.
Okay. There you
And
go.
they came up with their
Yeah.
own solutions.
Yeah.
Because I think that our youth, and I know that our youth are strong enough and wise enough to be able to protect and guide each other on what to protect, on what to watch for,
And then they
if
feel
they know what
empowered.
it is.
Right.
They feel empowered.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we've identified the threat. We've talked about different ways we can protect, or, red flags we can look out for to protect families and children around. But to wrap up this topic, what are some apps, some specific tools that we can use to protect children while respecting their privacy?
I pass on this question. But I did want to just add something really quick.
Yeah.
And it is the power of good choices. And letting our children know the importance of making good choices and how detrimental it is to their future. And a lot of that is not only talking to them about it, having an open dialogue about it, but setting the example as well. It's an app that I know of as far as when you're in trouble. One of the apps I know of is called Be Safe, and it's a really good app. It has an alert button on it. It's
That's great.
And where
less
can
money.
you find that at? Find the resources for that at?
Well, it's on theopengateway.org.
Plug.
Plug in. So it has an alert button on it.
That's
You
awesome.
can share the location with your family, your
Okay.
parents, and also giving your children a little bit of freedom, but as well allowing them space to be responsible.
Yes.
Right, I like that.
I found some apps that are similar to that. I looked them up yesterday, and they are user friendly and with the same thing, respecting privacy but still being involved in knowing where your children are. It's the Google Family Link app is really
Okay.
easy to use. Something called BART Parental Controls, and those two things, and the one that we have on our
And
site.
you can also go to the
Yes.
opengateway.org, and we have a resource list of apps that are there that we have researched. And if you have any apps that you would like the council to research to give their approval and heads up on, you can go on the speak pipe.
Yeah.
And you can ask us to research it, and we will. We'll put it on our website. So if you want to get some apps that are helpful with guiding the youth and giving them empowerment, and because one of the things we want to do is empower and protect the youth.
Yeah,
And so tune in on there.
Just as Tish was mentioning, our basic needs and people targeting you because of financial gain or having a place to stay or physical things. Humans need to feel connected. They need to feel seen. So self-esteem is huge also.
Yeah.
So another part of, protection can be the prevention side, where we build our children up
Yes.
before the threat even comes about. So there is an app called Self-Esteem. It's on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. But we can, our boys and girls can start early
Absolutely.
and just learn about themselves and tell themselves the truth about them, that they are valuable, that they are important, that people do care, and that they can be protected, that they're not alone.
It's an awesome app. I have it myself. It's free, and it just walks you through, how you're feeling about yourself. Where are you right now? So it's for children and adults.
Right.
I highly recommend it. It's an awesome app. It's self-esteem.
That's cool.
And being connected and letting people know where you are is a must.
Yes,
It
absolutely.
is a must.
Well, that was good, guys. That it's been so much information. I feel like we've given the people quite a bit of tools, and definitely some conversations to go and connect with the community and have. What did you say, Miss Mary Mack down the street? So we have some room to grow and to connect with our community. So we have more eyes on our families and friends. But just as a bonus, okay,
Woo
I won't
woo.
take up too much time, but this is what we do. We get lit and legit.
Lit and legit.
You ain't know?
So let's talk about, because we send our children out. If it's after school programs, if it's sports, athletic programs with the coaches, they're at school, more time than they are with us in the evening at home awake. So what are some roles that schools and youth organizations can play in keeping the children safe online?
I think educating them and having resources and, just having an outlet for them to be able to talk to somebody at school.
Yeah, they do. They have advocates in schools now, and just to make sure we're being consistent, that the parents at home are having the same conversations that the schools are having. And I think that bridge still needs to be gapped. I think we need to bridge that gap as soon as possible.
Yeah, because, just like they have after-school programs and sign-ups to be able to learn about sex education, different types of things of that nature, they should have something where they can learn about how to protect themselves from predators, whether it's domestic violence, human trafficking, sexual exploitation. There should be some type of extra curriculum where they could opt in to be able to learn more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm thinking, my son's school uses the Remind app, but it needs to be a specific platform that they know the teacher and the students and the parents have access to, instead of we're contacting you through Instagram.
Right.
Or emailing your iCloud account. It needs to be a specific location where the coach, the players, the parents, everyone is going to be there. So there's no guessing if, you know, Johnny's dad is going to pick you up from soccer, but he's on your Facebook sending you a message.
Right.
So I think
Yeah.
a central location that these organizations can use would create some unity and, you know, just wipe out any extra questions about if it's accurate or not.
Absolutely, and safe words and codes
Right.
that the school
we talked
knows,
about
the child knows, and the parents, we know. So that could absolutely help.
This was good, guys.
Yes,
So good.
This
so
was
good, so
amazing.
good.
So
Hard truth. Safe
You guys
spaces.
are so strong, and I mean, this is very informative. So let's see if we could just give any type of advice to a survivor or a victim. Someone may be going through this but not know who to, you know, reach out to. If we could provide any advice right now, just briefly, what would it be? How can we help others?
Well, first and foremost, you're not alone. Know that for sure. And there's power in your story. You never know where your story could take you, and asking for help is not a weakness.
Yes.
It's a strength.
Right.
You know, being able to say that I need help is a strength. There's nothing wrong with it, and there's power in numbers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Exactly what you said. I just agree with all of that.
Yeah, me too. I second that. I'm thinking if you are a survivor and you've gone through something traumatic and you've overcome it, don't be ashamed.
Absolutely.
Because you aren't the only one. And sometimes God will allow us to go through something so that we can help someone else
Yes.
avoid
Say
that.
it. Say it.
So, you know, he'll turn your mess into a masterpiece.
Okay,
If it's
come
something
on.
that was really heavy on you, you can use that as a gift, as a tool to prevent someone else from experiencing the same thing.
Absolutely.
If you're unsure if you're a victim or not, because, you know, sex crime or domestic violence can come in totally different forms. If you're not sure, you can go to our website, you can fill out a form, and just, you know, you can start small. Provide some information and, you know, just get some feedback because we want to help you.
Yes.
So you can use our speak pipe to be heard or just to reach out and see if you would be, you know, qualified to be termed as a victim.
Right.
Because you don't have to continue to suffer, especially alone. So there are
Yes.
people in your corner.
Absolutely.
So that's the advice I would have.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great advice. And, you know, I would say just survive the night, you know, because a lot of times when people are caught up in those type of situations, they're not sure if they're going to even survive the night. So anything beyond that can be a little bit too much overwhelming, you know what I mean? But if I survive the night, you know, I can, you know, live to see another day. Because if it's a will, it's a way. And there's, you can reach out to the human trafficking hotline. You can reach out to the Open Gateway. You can also, if you're in another state, you find out. You can Google like human trafficking, sexual exploitation, organizations near me, and connect with your local
Authorities,
networks,
yeah.
right? And get assistance on whatever it is, and because a lot of times we'll try to meet you where you're at, you know.
Right.
And it's not always about saving someone. Sometimes it's just about redirecting and enlightening them and letting them, reminding them that they're a child of God, reminding them that you're human. Like, you know, things happen and you're human, and it doesn't have to define you. It's just a small piece of what you've been through, and life is much bigger,
Absolutely.
and God's plan for you is much bigger than what you've been through.
Yes.
Yes, Alice,
good.
thank you. Thank you.
Lit and legit.
Absolutely,
baby.
you know?
This means war.
This means war.
Absolutely.
So once again, we thank you guys for viewing our podcast today. We want to remind you of ways that you can connect with us and get more information from the Gateway. Instagram, The Open Gateway. Our Facebook is The Space Gate Space Way, The Gateway. You can visit our website. There's different tools about our events, resources, ways to connect back with us. That is theopengateway.org. and our YouTube, The Open Gateway 1. So you can
Yes.
certainly connect with us on all different channels.
Yes, ma'am.
Subscribe,
And
share.
our
Yes.
Like,
Our
Yes.
next podcast will be with the OG Alice J. She's going to speak about trafficking and exploitation and recovery. So tune in with
Yes,
us on our
tune
next
in.
podcast.
Yes.
We out.
Eagles rise.